Well, hello, Bradley. How are
What's
you?
up, Brittany? I'm
What's
doing
up?
well. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. So, I'm really excited. I'm really excited to chat with you today and talk a lot more about the now moment. And I think, most people will think of it as the present moment, but it's a little bit different than just a moment in time. So I want to hear a little bit about you and what your perception of this now moment is, and then we'll kind of just take it from there.
Okay, perfect. So, it does seem a little strange, like when you think about it, to be like, okay, we got to get in the present moment because that's exactly where we're existing at all times, right? Like we've
Yeah.
never. I learned that from Eckhart. I'm sure everyone that's ever watched me or me and you've even had conversations. Like I'm a big Eckhart
Yeah.
fan. He talks about like it really made sense when he said, I mean, think about it. Have you ever been to the future and have you ever been to the past? Like even when the so-called past experience happened, it happened in the now, and even in this perceived future moment it will happen in the now, and like
Mhm.
so the pretty much psychological time only exists in the mind.
Yeah.
And so and I know that your take on the now in like terms of manifesting,
Mhm.
what's the key is to realize that you have it now, right,
Yeah.
already, and it's reflected back. So it's like I think it's one of the ones of just realizing if you know that now is all there is, and like gotta be it to see it now kind of thing. It's just kind of like it's a really good realization to come across that like now is all there is.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's so funny that you say it like that. Like, I need to get into the now. We're always in the now, but there is that looming mind, the human you, that ego that tries to do everything it can to make you think that you don't exist in the now. So what do you have to say about that? I know you posted a video about the mind, and obviously we know, all of us know, that if you spend most of your day in the mind, then you're just going to suffer. You're going to struggle. You're going to be stuck in like you said, a past that doesn't exist or a future that never comes, because neither one is real. They are illusions. And even when you mentioned like the memories from the past, well, memories are nothing more than an imaginal act itself.
Yep.
So it doesn't make sense to spend your attention and your energy and your beautiful awareness in a place that doesn't exist. So when people say I have trouble staying in the now or the present moment, what do you say to them about that?
um why, like,
Yeah.
and because like I get it, right,
Mhm.
but like how you brought it up, it really is identification with the mind, right.
Mhm.
A lot of times we find the channels like mine and yours because we're trying to get something,
Yep.
right, get that person, especially get the amount of money, the car, the clothes, the career, whatever, what have you. And
Totally.
so like if we're saying I will be happy when,
Mhm.
like when this happens, right?
Yeah.
So illusion number one, right? Like
Yeah.
in this perceived future moment, like there's this salvation that I'm going to find,
Yeah.
and we know that the state of being is king. And if you're in this state of like when, then it's just going to keep being when, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so like when we identify with the mind, like you said, this ego that doesn't want to live in time, or doesn't want to live
Mhm.
in the present moment, is because
Yeah.
it exists there.
Right.
Like it just can't. Like the ego, it has to have a past that gives it some form of identity,
Yeah.
like that we're the abandoned one, we're the, even in a positive, like we're the athlete, we're this, we're that, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then of course the future is like, oh, when I get this, or
Mhm.
this will be better when this happens, I'll be happier when this happens. So like to actually get out of mind and be in the present moment,
Yeah.
um yes, it's a real fearful place for the actual ego itself, because it can't exist there.
Yeah.
It can only exist with a with an identity that's rooted in the past and some perceived future moment of
Yeah.
like salvation.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, 100%. And it's the funniest thing, because people will try to figure out, like you said, go on and search for the answer of how to be present in the now. How can I be present? How can I be more mindful or more aware or more conscious? All of these questions to truly just be in the now moment. And the funny thing is that when you do that, and it's very simple, there's lots of different ways, and we can talk about our experiences, but when you are present, the mind cannot exist. It can't take you to the past. It can't take you to this illusory future. And that's the space where you find that peace, that fulfillment, that joy, you know? So I know you have children just like I do. And I always, you know, would realize that while I'm playing with my kids and while I'm being present with my children and just being there, I'm super happy. I'm at peace. Even though I could sit here and think about all these things that I have to do later to get them prepared for school, or, you know, about the past, or, you know, maybe I could have done X, Y, and Z better. In the now moment, none of that stuff even exists.
Exactly.
It doesn't exist. And so if it's not in your awareness, it's not real. It can't exist. And I think it's such a simple practice that most people will look at that and say, yeah, that's cool and everything, but like, I want my stuff.
Oh,
So let's
for
focus
sure.
on that, you
Yeah,
know?
for sure. Yeah. But also in the same sentence, a lot of people are like, but how do I stop this negative thought?
Mm-hmm.
How do I get over this old story and remembering this? And it's like, you get out of mind. Like sometimes, actually, I would say almost all the time, the problem itself is the mind. And how are you going to solve the problem with the problem?
Exactly.
Right?
Oh
So
my
it's
God.
like, it doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense, but I get it, because when we have been so used to identifying with mind and believing every thought we get,
Yeah.
and we're like, oh my God, now I know about manifesting. If I get this negative thought, this is going to happen, but now I can't stop.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
all just a well, it's an illusion for sure. But like when we get out of the mind, we realize like, oh my God, I'm actually safe.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
oh no, right? And then in the state of being king,
Mm-hmm.
like a safe state of being creates more safety out there.
Yeah.
You know, I remember in our last conversation before we had, or
Mm-hmm.
like last week before the this video, you
Yeah.
said that like I wish people would understand that like sometimes there's just challenges.
Of course.
Like
Yeah.
no amount of like I don't have time to change all my assumptions about every little thing that pops up in my life. I don't, right? I can say most things go my way, and they tend to do so, right? But
Yeah.
it's because like I don't necessarily care too much if it does, because like again, the only reason that we want something or want things to be our way is because we think we're going to be happier, safer, feel better, and then when we get more present, we
Yeah.
realize that we are as safe as you can possibly feel. Um,
Exactly.
and that you don't really lack anything. You're not missing anything. You don't need anything to be a certain way. And
Mm-hmm.
then with that being that state of being, even if something doesn't show up your way, you're like, oh well, because it
Yeah.
doesn't dictate how I feel.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's so funny because I think a lot of people don't know how to get into, you know, that's the other question. How do I get into that state of being? I can't force myself to feel a certain way. It's not necessarily about feeling. And I know, as we said before, like, yeah, it's not about feeling, but why wouldn't you want to feel good?
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, when you are present, it's automatic because the ego doesn't live there. The ego doesn't exist there. And at your true nature, at your core, you are peace, love, fulfillment, completeness, wholeness,
Yeah.
you know, that's who you are. So you are literally removing this illusion of the mind, the ego, the human self, whatever you want to call it, the 3D you, and you're revealing what has always been there. So it's not a thing to reach. It's not a place to get to. It's an understanding that it's always been there, and you just have been so distracted by this illusory time that we buy into.
Yeah, exactly. Because the ego itself, like the identification with mind itself, is very fragile. It's not a stable place.
Mm-hmm.
So, because number one, it's not really who you are,
Right.
and so you're identified with things that are constantly changing in the world
Mm-hmm.
of form. Like, but one thing that doesn't change is consciousness, the I am, the who you actually are, right? So when you talk about like the I am, or when I talk about like God consciousness, like this is what we are, right?
Yeah.
It's easy to say that,
Mm-hmm.
but how do you know that?
Exactly.
Right? And the only way that you're going to know that is if you can feel that, because it really can't be talked about too much, because the mind can't grasp what it is.
Exactly.
It's way too big, right? I mean, like right now you're having all your organs, all these cells doing what they're doing, keeping you alive. You don't have to think about it at all.
Exactly. They do it for you on their
Yes,
own.
that's God, right? That's the God consciousness. That's the I am part of you. So
Mm-hmm.
like, keeping you alive is doing all these things. You have to do nothing. Imagine if you had to consciously make all these things work. You'd be dead in like 2 minutes.
Yeah,
So like
exactly.
we get the like the human self, like the mind itself, gets the luxury of just like, oh, I want my person, I want to think about it, right?
Mm. Yeah,
But again, when we identify with that, it's rooted in instability. So
yeah,
like when we can get out of the mind and realize that it's not who we are, that even if we say I am an athlete, I am a YouTuber, I am a teacher, all these things, like it's still an outer purpose kind of thing that we chose. It's not who we are.
hmm,
So when you say things like I am is the like create from I am, or I say, hey,
yeah,
let's realize your God consciousness, then from there pick your human experience, same thing, right? But like how do we know this? We get out of mind.
yeah, yeah, and have the direct experience for
Yeah.
yourself.
Then you'll know.
Yeah, exactly. It's so true. It's so true. And I say this all the time, like I am happy. I love chatting about these things. It's my favorite thing to do, but it can only take you so far.
Oh yeah.
Just how books can only take you so far. You have to experience it for yourself to know it for yourself. And until you have that experience, until you have that knowing or whatever you want to look at it as or call it, you are still going to search. You're going to seek, you're going to try to use your logic and your mind to give you the answer, but it can't because your mind doesn't exist there. It doesn't exist there.
It can't find the answer because it actually doesn't want the answer.
Oh no.
Because it can't exist there.
Yep.
Right. Like so yeah. So
Exactly.
that's why Eckhart says things like, hey, listen, the mind is a beautiful tool. Like
Mhm.
ideally you want to be in more of a state of presence. And then like when you want to create something, you say, oh, hey, I want to experience this now. And you start telling a
Yeah,
story. You use it as a tool.
exactly.
If you identify with it, it will use you.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, I'm spiraling. And it's like, man, it's just the mind. It's just
Mhm.
believing the thoughts.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. And like you said, it's funny because when you are first starting out with, consciously choosing to be present, the mind doesn't want that,
No,
right?
not at
Because
all.
so people will always say, like, I can't meditate, I can't be still, I can't quiet the mind because as soon as I do, this happens. But it's not that you can't, it's that you're allowing the mind to tell you what is true for you. Number one, never gonna give you what you want. But number two, isn't it obvious when you see that, when you have that experience of as soon as I consciously choose, intentionally choose to sit down and just be still and be aware and be present? Why is it then that that's when the mind wants to come in and tell you all of the things that you might need to be doing right now? You're
Yeah.
wasting your time. Like, oh my God, did you do this thing that you were supposed to do? All of that stuff. When you notice it, really just notice that that's what the mind's doing. We're not trying to stop it, but noticing that that's how it works.
Yeah.
It's kind of obvious, isn't it?
Yeah.
That it's trying to take you out of that place, which for me tells me that that's where I am. That's where I exist. That's where the truth is. And I want to allow the thoughts to be there, not resist them, not try to fight against them, because that's never going to work either, but just allow them the space to be without attaching yourself to them, without labeling them at all. And guess what? They can't continue to come in at that overwhelming rate that they were at the very least. And they're most likely going to very much slow down and almost stop. Now, they're not going to completely stop, but you will get into this place where it's like background noise more than right in the forefront of your mind. So
Exactly.
it will be easier and easier the more you just practice being present. And what is something for you that you did, especially when you were starting this, when you started practicing being present? How did you do that? What was your approach, let's say?
Oh, number one was like I'm a big person on like making a decision and
Okay.
like
Yeah.
trying to make it like logical, out of the what's going on. And it's like just first realizing that the mind actually is incessantly negative, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's in general, like yes, we use the mind to solve problems, but like the mind creates a lot more of them.
Oh, yeah.
Like constantly finding problems. That's why we always see the comments on our videos like,
Mhm.
okay, I get what you're saying, but what if this happens?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
what about this though? Like and this and this and this, and there's always these like gotta find another problem, right?
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's the mind. It's not you, right?
Yeah.
But what I did was like I learned from in the book The Power of Now was
Mm.
inner body awareness.
Okay.
Was like taking like the attention for like lodging it in my mind to like putting it in my chest or
Yeah.
hands or like my
Mhm.
legs
Mhm.
and remembering to do this often, because like, I mean,
Yeah, you
you
have to.
it's safe there. Like,
Mhm.
it actually is you. And again, it's one of those things that you don't really know until you experience it. It's
Yeah.
like, you can feel the aliveness, like,
Mhm.
just in your body, and you're like, wow, I never even noticed this stuff because I've been too busy thinking about how I'm gonna get this and how I'm gonna
Yeah.
get that, and I never really even stopped to appreciate, like, I always talk about, like, don't abandon self, don't abandon self. Like,
Yeah.
if people are ghosting you, if all these things are happening, you abandon self first. Like, I talk about that a lot, and it's like,
Yeah.
to me, like, putting my attention to my body's the ultimate not abandon self move.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm extremely home, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not just, yeah, I'm not being taken over by anything. Like, I'm home, and from
Yeah.
that place, you can consciously be like, okay, this is how I want to do things,
Mhm.
and yeah, it's
Yeah,
safe.
for sure.
But just pretty much putting the attention in the inner body. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
I
much,
I
yeah,
I love I love that. I love doing that. I think when I started, choosing to intentionally be aware and be present, um, I just started with my breath because the breath only exists in the
yeah,
present
yeah,
moment anyway.
yes,
So that's a safe one. I know that that will be in the present. So I can just start to notice it. And it's not like I'm changing my breathing. I'm just putting the attention and the focus there. And I would notice the actual sensations of the way that the breath feels when it's coming into the nostrils, moving out of
yes,
the
yeah,
nostrils, filling up my lungs, even feeling like the temperature of the air, it's
yep.
cold, just putting all of my energy and focus there. And you start to realize nothing's happening
There's no
necessarily,
problems.
but yet,
Yeah,
like, I'm at peace. I'm at peace right now. I'm actually happy. I'm satisfied right now. And how is that when, you know, you say you don't have what you want, but in the present, you have everything that you need. You have all that you are. And that actually is truly what you've always been wanting the whole time.
exactly.
And there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong. Of course, this is why I talk about this all the time. Nothing wrong with wanting what you want on this outside 3D experience. But here's the thing, if you forget that you are the present moment, that you truly only exist
Yeah,
in the present moment, and you're operating and attached to and identified with, as you said, with the mind and its little stories, then you are going to feel like you're waiting for something to happen, or you are always really close but never actually there. And the thing is, even if you get what you want, that feeling is very fleeting. And then you will start to recognize again that the mind is telling you there's something else that you need now. This
yep,
isn't okay. It isn't safe here. And
yep,
so you're in an endless cycle.
yep. And then you'll blame the person or blame the circumstance, or that wasn't it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Mhm.
and then,
I
yeah,
agree.
it's just how it goes.
Yeah, yeah. And something else that I wanted to kind of mention too about the now moment is that such a beautiful experience, number one, but the gift of the now moment, the gift of the now moment is that you are literally clean. You are a brand new you with nothing attached to you.
Yep,
You can choose whatever you want to. You can decide, like you said, from there. You can choose to drop everything that you've perceived has happened in your past, which isn't real, not true, anyways. And in the now moment, you are fresh. You have nothing attached to you. So you can choose from there and recognize that because of your true nature, because of who you really are, there was never anything that you needed to achieve. You just needed to look through a different point of view when it comes to the identity part of yourself and come from that space, Like you said earlier, when you're constantly searching and seeking for something, well, that becomes your identity.
oh
And
yeah,
what you
yeah,
can experience is more things for you to search and seek for. And I think a lot of people in this community easily fall into that place and find themselves staying there. And that's the thing that we want to kind of move away from. And being present, being in the now moment is just going to make that so clear to you.
yeah, 100%. I mean, like, I even, some of the videos I talk about, like, just, have you ever just looked around at, like, the trees? or like the sky, like how much life we actually miss. And
Yeah.
I'm just like thoroughly convinced that like one day when this whole thing is over, if I'm lucky enough to be in a spot where I know this is like my final
Yeah.
days kind of thing, like I'm probably not going to be trying to, manifest more money,
No.
like, and like this present moment state, it really is the ultimate living in the end state.
Hmm.
Like
Totally.
there's nothing that, um, Jesus says, like, seek first the kingdom of heaven and all things will be added on to you. And like, I truly believe that Neville and Eckhart were right. They
Yeah.
break down
Sure.
the Bible differently a little bit. Like Eckhart talks about more of like an enlightened, present
Yeah.
moment state. And Neville's like, these are different desires that you can, a different state that you can occupy.
Hmm.
Both are right. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, but yeah, to go within and realize like that you lack nothing. You're in a state of
Mhm.
being that doesn't lack is in the present moment. Is kind of just taking everything in, which actually, when you're actually present, like
Yeah.
gratitude naturally comes up,
Exactly.
like just
Yeah.
naturally, and then like so you just add in this like wonderful state of being,
Mhm.
and all these things start getting added onto you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. It's so true. And it's funny that you said that, like, at the end of my life, really, what am I going to be most concerned with? It's none of these things. And again, nothing wrong with it. And the irony of it is, like you said earlier, your state of being, where you choose to live, where you dwell within, is what is expressed out here anyway.
For sure.
So you're exactly where you need to be. When you're chasing something, when you're constantly living in the future or the past, whatever one you guys tend to go to, guess what? You're not being who you've chosen to be. So even with that, even if you guys are still hearing this conversation and you're, still in the back of your mind, like, yeah, but like, I don't want to give up on that thing. Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
still want my person. I love that. I want you to have everything that you want to experience.
agreed.
And you do. You do. But searching in the future, or, dwelling in the past, is not going to be where you find it or experience it. You can only experience the now.
Yeah,
Life is literally unfolding from you in the now moment. So
100%.
where are you going to experience it? And it's so true when you said, you miss things, you don't even notice things. Oh my gosh, you are going to miss what is right in front of you, what is right here, right
Yeah,
now, in this moment. And when you do start to just be observant, and things that we've talked about before in videos, like just being more observant, aware, without judgment, without labeling things, you do start to just have that natural sense of gratitude for the beauty of what is. And again, that dominating your state of being
yeah,
that place
it's
where you live,
yeah,
everything is revealing itself
yeah,
to you. So it's a win-win no matter what you're looking for.
exactly. Like think about the times that like maybe you've talked to friends and you're like, man, those were the good old days, the good old days. And really, if I'm honest with myself, back in the day, the good old days, like I was thinking about another time in my head.
Exactly.
Like it's always just like this constant
Yeah,
chase of like a memory or like anticipation. And
totally.
as far as people that want their people, because I know that we get that,
Yeah,
and again, there's nothing wrong with that. That's how I found all this stuff pretty
of
much.
course. Yeah.
So, but it's like sometimes if we don't really realize who we are, like the I amness,
Yeah.
the God consciousness, like the everything, like that's who we are.
Yeah.
Then of course there's going to be some form of lack and fear because we're identified with mind. We're going to think that we are not enough. We're going to think that we need this, all this stuff,
Yeah.
and which in turn means that we can't really even love the way that we would want to love, and we
Hmm.
can't even really accept love the way that we want to accept love
Yeah.
because there's fear attached now, right?
Hmm.
So, because we're fear of being vulnerable.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
really, if someone gets in the present moment, you'll realize, and you're not identified with mind, and you get out of mind for a little while. That's the actual true state of invulnerability,
Yes.
and you realize that you're the only reason that you were ever hurt or like
Hmm.
was because of the mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Exactly. Exactly. And you recognize that when you aren't stuck and attached to what the mind is feeding to you,
Yeah,
you are safe. Like you said, you're perfectly safe and you're perfectly free. The two things that, in my experience, I think most desires are coming from. It's from a state of fear, like you've mentioned,
yep,
and also just a desire to feel safe, or to feel free. Those are the two big ones. And most people aren't coming to me saying, I desire to feel safe or I desire to feel free. But the tangible 3D desires that they're looking for, when we get down to it, they believe will provide them with
For
a
sure.
state of or safety or a sense of, stability or freedom. And the thing is, you have both of those things
Yeah.
right now in the present moment.
Yeah.
So it's crazy when you really, really, again, give yourself that experience. You just see how simple all of this was, and you can then live your life even if
Yes.
you're not being present. And it's totally okay to do, by the way. It's totally okay to live and experience your
Yeah.
3D world.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's great. But you're doing it from a more of a detached state. Not that you're not enjoying everything, but it's almost like that nothing that happens can truly affect who you are. And that is such a peaceful and freeing and safe feeling.
Exactly. Like we were talking about the other day, just add on to that. Like, remember I told you my wife believed differently than I do, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And I saw a comment today that was like, hey, you can change your beliefs. And I was like, I know, right?
yeah,
But I'm not in a state of fear where I would need to do that.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
because beforehand I would be fearful about like, oh, what if she gets a tarot card that like goes against me? And she
Yeah,
believes that, right? Like now I'm like, I'm so solid within state. I would say probably most of the time that like, I don't really fear people
mhm.
being them. Like I don't need to, like, everything's fine, right?
Yeah,
And so and yeah, like we're either running to emotions, like the safety, the freedom, the love. That's why we want something, and
mhm.
or we're running from it. We don't want to feel this. We don't want to feel that, right? But
Yeah,
like when you're in the mind, like you don't have a choice but to feel those things.
yeah, mhm.
Like that's part of that whole game.
Yeah,
And so,
definitely.
and all those have opposites. Like if you
Mhm.
want to be happy, it comes
Yeah,
with possibilities of being sad, right? Because like once you say this person makes me happy, now this person also makes you sad.
yeah,
All these things
exactly.
come with its opposite, but the present moment awareness has no opposite. Like
Yeah,
it's it really is invulnerability. So like even if someone just wants to start doing it to master their mind a little bit more,
mhm.
then start there, right?
Yeah,
Like even if you're trying to do it just to not spiral, start there.
mhm.
The more you do it, the more you'll realize who you actually are.
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
when people say like, well, people like me and you say like,
Mhm.
hey, this is you are the I am, you are God,
Yeah,
then it actually makes a little bit of sense. But even then, it's like that doesn't do it justice.
yeah, exactly, exactly. That's exactly what I've been saying. It's like, yes, I can tell you the same thing in so many different ways. And that's what I do. That's my intention for my channel.
Yeah,
But it's not enough. It will never be enough. So, like you said,
it will never be enough.
you'll get like a little hit of, oh yeah, that really resonates, that clicks, that feels good for me. But yet then you go and watch another video a few hours later or tomorrow or whatever it is, because you're searching for that feeling again. But if you're chasing a fleeting thing, which is emotions aren't constant. They don't last forever,
Nope.
you know? So if you're chasing something that isn't reality, then you're going to suffer. You're going to suffer. So
Suffering
it's
has
not about the emotion or the feeling. And when I'm talking about a feeling, I'm talking about, emotions like most people are, but I'm talking about more of a sense. It's a sense.
Oh
It's an
yeah,
underlying sense of peace, an underlying sense of fulfillment. And it's not an emotion that's going to go up and down. So just knowing that we did choose to come here and have a human experience and experience, like you said, the opposites of things, because that's the world that we chose to
yeah,
experience. It's all gonna do what it does. That's the way life works. Life is constantly moving, but as your true self, that exists in the now, in the present moment, it never changes. And that is exactly where you find your safety, your peace, your love, your fulfillment, and that sense of knowing that everything is perfect right now, right here, that nothing needs to change.
agree, 100%. Like, uh, yeah, that's pretty much it with that stuff. It's
Yeah.
like I remember telling myself I'm whole, I'm complete,
Hmm.
I'm whole, I'm complete, like affirmations. But like in all honesty, I don't even know what that meant.
Right.
Like
Right.
I still was affirming that from a place that was never going to feel whole and complete.
Yeah.
Like it's
Exactly.
just not like it actually can't.
Hmm. Totally.
Even if for a moment, like you said, a fleeting moment, like you feel
Yeah.
safe, it's your person, the money comes through, all that stuff. It's if you identify with the world of form, with
Hmm.
all that stuff, like it's a matter of time, but probably pretty shortly before, oh shit, I'm scared again.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. You're so right. So, bottom line, present moment is going to really bring all of the things that you and I talk about on our channel. And instead of hearing it from someone else, instead of reading it in a book, having that direct experience of knowing that this is where everything is, this is where life is, this is where everything is that I've
Yeah.
always been looking for. It's all here.
Oh yeah.
It all exists
That's
right
what you've
now
been. That's what you
within.
wanted right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And then
Exactly.
and it's too simple for the mind to
Yeah.
it's too
Yeah,
simple and complicated at the same time for the mind to like to figure out. Like
exactly.
it's too big as far as like to understand what God is, and it's too
Yeah.
simple. It's like wait, I just stop thinking for a little bit and
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
be around. Acceptance
Exactly.
will also help you with that with the
For
present moment.
sure. For sure.
Um, I know
Mhm.
people get scared. I know we talk about
Yeah.
manifesting stuff, but I know people get scared. They're like, well, if I accept it, does that mean it's mine?
Yep.
It's like there's the present moment, um, acceptance, things like that is actually quite the contrary of not getting what you want.
Exactly.
It's actually quite the opposite.
Yeah, I know. And you know what? That's something that I've talked about a lot. I usually refer to it as making peace with what
Yeah.
is, but
Yes.
most people get very anxious about that and they say, well, like you said, then what? Everything's just going to stay the same. For a moment, just stop. Have you ever noticed your life to stay exactly the same as
Change.
it is right now?
Exactly.
No, it can't. It doesn't. That's not the world that we chose to experience. But what does stay the same is you, your truth, your I amness, your
Yes.
awareness in this present now moment.
Yep.
So,
I mean, I try to make it simple too. Is like things are going to turn into what you are.
mhm,
You know,
mhm,
when you accept something and you bring a state of peace to it, like within whatever seems chaotic out there will turn into more of what you are.
mhm. Yeah,
And how you see things. Like when you're in a constant state of chaos, like state of being always reigns king. Like
yeah,
it's yeah, you can bring stuff in with affirmations, all that stuff. I'm all for it if that's how you want to get down.
yeah,
But ultimately, I don't mean you, but like in general, people if that like that's
yeah,
their way, so be it. But like ultimately, state of being is king, and
yeah.
it will show you what you really have going on in your state of being.
Exactly. And the answer to that, the answer to getting into the state is realizing that you are the state and it exists right
You
now.
are this exactly. Like you get there by realizing that you are there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as
In the
long as you think
direct
you got
experience.
and as long as you think you got to get there, you're gonna keep thinking you got to get.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, Bradley, this was awesome. It was
Yes, ma'am.
so nice to chat with you. Love the topic at hand right now. It really is. Like I promise you guys, it's the answer. No matter what the question is, it's the answer. So start with the answer. Start with the end. Instead of
Yeah,
looking from the problem, like you said, you cannot see the fulfillment there. You cannot see the problem solved if you're starting with a problem. I get
exactly.
that you have to recognize maybe that you don't prefer something in your experience, and that's fine. But from there, choose a different point of view. And the easiest way to do that is by recognizing who you really are. And how do you do that? By being present. And
Yep.
all the answers come to you there, you know?
Yes, it's that is 100% true. Like there, like, um, yeah, dude. When you're in the present moment, like that, you don't have to think all the time. Like things will just come to you.
Hmm.
Many times I'm like, man, what am I gonna make a video about? And I'm like, man, I guess I could talk about that or that. And then I just stop,
Yep.
and then I'll just like walk and breathe for a second. I'll turn the camera on, and then I'm just like, hey, my name's Bradley. I'm your host of the Internal Game, and I just start talking.
Same here.
Like,
And this is so funny. I was telling one of my clients this. She's like, how do you prepare for your videos? Like, what do you do? And I'm like, the moment I try to prepare for my video, then it's not going to go well. So what I do is I get an urge to make a video, and maybe that's why I don't post as often as you guys want me to, but I just wait for that inspiration, and then I turn the camera on and I start talking. And honestly, it's the strangest thing. I'm talking and I don't even know what's being said. So I have to go back and listen to the video all the way through to be like, oh, that's what I was talking about. It's like I am takes over and is speaking through this physical identity of me. And it's the craziest thing ever. And everyone can experience this. It's not like you and I are special or something. It's all who we are. It's our true nature.
Yeah, 100%. Like it's like even in one-on-ones and things like that. Like after it's over with, I'm like, man, I should have recorded that or something so I could bring that up in the video. But like that's how infinite that it is and abundant that it is, because I'm just like, that actually doesn't matter. Like I'll have another topic soon now. Like it doesn't necessarily matter.
Yeah.
And but I do want to say, just like, if you guys just want to start, the people that are watching, like if you're just having trouble just off the rip with just spiraling or like the old story that we, people I call it things like that. It's like, dude, drop it all together, get present. There's safety there.
Yeah.
Put your attention in your inner body, or just accept the moment as it is. I think it was Eckhart that said, what could be more insane than like refusing what already is? Like it doesn't mean it can't be changed. It's the world of form. Everything's changeable, but like it is kind of insane when you think about it to be like, no, I don't want this to happen. And it's like right there. Like so just accept it, let it go, and then tell your new story kind of thing. But like you're going to be able to do that a lot easier when you practice present. It's extremely, it's not only is it who you are, it's from that place you actually can use your mind as a tool for real.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I think a lot of people get a little bit confused. Like, well, what's better, being in the present moment or imagining my desired end? But they go hand in hand. It's just that when you try to start off by imagining your desired end from an identity, it's very, very difficult. But when you do it from the present moment, it flows and it naturally comes to you.
Yeah.
It feels so good.
Because you're not really like, you're not in a place of desperation.
Yeah.
And again, doesn't mean you can't get your stuff, but why do you want to feel desperate?
Yeah.
Why do you want to be in that? And like, and when you're eating eat your food. Like,
yeah.
Is up?
Oh, there you are.
I was saying, like, when you're eating your food, like, eat your food.
Yeah.
You don't have to be like eating and like affirming like a banshee, like trying to like eat your food. Like enjoy yourself and enjoy talking to your and just know that like your person, all that stuff, it's coming. Like it's there.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
You just need to get yourself to where you belong, home.
Yeah, exactly. There's no possible way, because I know that's a fear that comes from the mind, obviously. There's no possible way that anything can ever leave you. You're not going to miss out on anything, because everything is yours. It's all your creation to begin with, and it can't even exist without you. So by knowing that, it's totally safe for you to start practicing presence and being in the now. You're not missing out on anything. There's no time that's getting away from you. All of that is an illusion. Take charge of who you are. Start prioritizing what really matters, which truly is the present moment. And the thing is, that allows you to experience all the things that you've been looking to experience.
Yep. And it's living in the end.
Yep.
Like, and you can tell yourself, when I'm telling this little story, like, if people have been ghosted before, they've been left, and 3Ps, all that stuff that happens to people, right?
Yeah.
Because you had the insecurity within. Because you had, like, your state of being is always going to reign supreme king. You're going to see the world through that.
Right.
Through that mind.
Yeah.
And then those things happen. So like when you practice present moment, you get good at this stuff, and you return home and live there. What do you think is being reflected back to you?
Yeah.
Like that security.
Yeah.
That like, oh my gosh, you actually are.
Yeah.
For me, like, because they're going to feel so safe around you because you feel safe. Going to feel love around you because you feel love. They're going to want to experience you. There's no more like you chasing something, because there's nothing to chase. Like, you got it. And people want to experience this. This is what everybody wants.
Yeah. Totally. Oh my gosh. Well, I love it. I love
Yeah.
this. I loved this conversation. Thank you, Bradley,
Uh,
for doing this with me. It was
Thank you.
awesome.
I'm a
And
big fan.
yeah, I think everyone's
I'm glad they
gonna.
told me about you.
Me too. I've had a bunch of people say things like, "Oh wow, like I didn't know about him," or vice versa. "Oh, I didn't know about her." So I'm like,
Yeah.
"This is great. This is awesome. This is really cool. Thank you to you know who you are for suggesting it."
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I'm really really enjoyed chatting with you about this and loving your videos too. I'm taking some time to watch your videos. So everybody go watch Bradley's channel, go subscribe to him, and yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Yeah, and of course, I think we're both posting this right before you get
Yes.
up. Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. So yeah, everyone that's watching this, go subscribe to Brittany. She's the real deal for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
All right, Bradley. Well, I will leave you here, but I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. And yeah, looking forward to another chat.
Awesome. Thanks, Brittany.
Okay. You're welcome. Bye bye.